Wonderful to see you again, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Excellent, excellent to hear. Please, have a seat, have a seat. Oh, better yet, enjoy this lovely bit of grass that I've placed our blanket on. Thought it'd be quite comfortable here. I mean, I did like the look of the bench, but I've got to admit, it has seemed a lot more welcoming to be laying on the grass here. Did you think that I've picked out a good spot for a picnic? I mean, by some castle ruins. Reminds me a little bit of home, but not enough to make me feel uncomfortable or anything like that. What do you think, though? Are you happy with our little picnic here? That's most wonderful to hear. Thank you. Well, seems that we've managed to enjoy our little treats, and while you were gone, I was just reading a bit of poetry. Thought I'd catch up on some more poetry while you went off to the bathroom. I mean, if you'd like, you could perhaps sit by my side, and I would more than happily read out some more for you, just like those previous instances when I spent time with you reading poetry. What do you say to that? More than happy to. But are you absolutely, positively sure that you're okay with it? Oh, I'll never stop double-checking, will I? All right then, all right. Well, I thought I'd read more from, this poetry book by Till Lindemann. He's that singer from that band. I can't remember what they're called. A German band, quite heavy. A bit catchy, I must say, but I'm sure you know who they're called. But anyway, here's one right here. It's called Little Voice. Send me, please, a word or two. Your lovely mouth, I beg you, I adore. It is asking much too little to let me hear your little voice once more. Flayed amid the flames beseeching, let me feel your little voice. You can soothe me just by speaking. My scorching heart your words anoint. When tears are lashing me by night, my flesh torn open everywhere, your speech has the might to make the horror fair. Quite a sensitive one, that, isn't it? Very much attribute that to, well, I personally attribute it to a certain someone you might know. Of course, I'm talking about you. You absolutely come to mind when I read this, and it's quite, I don't know, it's just quite moving how even as simple as just hearing a person's voice is more than enough to ease the pain of a person. Whenever someone's struggling, sometimes all you need is to hear that someone's there for you, and that they are absolutely still in your life. Little reminders, comforting reassurances, anything like that, really. Always grateful for the little things. I certainly am. Let's read another one. If I have read any of these, by the way, I apologize in advance, but I at least hope that you're enjoying me reading them for you. Well, that's always Wonderful to know. Thank you. Thank you. Here's another one for you called Heart Thief. What have you done to me? Like a thief in the night, you boldly broke into my soul, wanting to steal my life. Here, take my heart. Just take it. I'm ruined anyway. Security lapse. Just take it. I gladly give my heart away. I lay it gently in your breast. Look after it kindly, I request. Oh, you know the old phrase about stealing someone's heart. It may be at first glance, it may be after interaction after interaction. Well, sometimes there are those cases where it happens and you feel like that was never planned. You feel like you've fallen in love with someone, but that was never the intention or never expected. And yet, here it is. It's happened. Shocking to many, I'm sure, or at least maybe just shocking to the person. And I suppose that sort of sense of feeling, that how can I word it? Kind of acceptance that someone has stolen your heart, and not necessarily blaming them for it, perhaps maybe a little, but at the same time, a bit of self-blame for letting it happen, and willingly offering one's love to a person, just hoping that they won't break it just as easily as they've snatched it away. So I'd say it's a bit of a bittersweet one, that you could say. Here's another one, False Butterfly. Outside I am wicked pretty, but my soul is brimstone black. Red is for the morning dew, poison green befits the lake, oily blue for animals, but my black I keep for me. And all colours that I steal from anyone who looks at me, I suck the colours from their eyes and lock them in my soul to die. Very morbid, very gothic, but I love it for that. I suppose it's kind of like a mousetrap. It's some sort of, perhaps metaphorical for something or someone who may seem beautiful on the outside, but the further you look, the more you realize that, of course, that is not the case. Inside they are cold, ugly, parasitic, and just when you have a peek, it's too late, far too late. Already the victim. Luckily, no one immediately comes to mind when I think about that, but, like I say, I do like quite morbid and gothic reads. Sometimes it can be quite refreshing, after all, just to have something a bit more grisly and gruesome and whatnot. Here's one called Happy. I'm friendly. I say hello to everyone. I'm saying yes to life and no to angst and gloom. Take sorrow by the hand, through dark clouds loom. When happiness is down, I lift it off the ground, and now I have to laugh. I suppose you could interpret that in, well, different ways. For example, you could interpret that as someone trying to force themselves to be happy and just laugh off struggles and whatnot, just kind of take sorrow, saying sadness, melancholy, and just take it with you regardless, just put up with it. Or, on the other hand, it could be interpreted as just being able to be grateful for life and When there are dark times, you march through them. You don't cower away from them. You march on through. And when things are difficult, try and find the positives. Try and find reasons to feel good. Something to, persuade oneself. Something to remind oneself about. Well, that not everything is as bad as it seems. Of course, I understand that varies. That obviously varies from person to person based on, their personal experiences. But again, it can be interpreted in more than one way, and I always enjoy poetry where it's still, still up for interpretation like that. Here's another. Questions, it's called. Let me ask you this. Do you know why stars have shiny points? I do not know. Some days they're round, like little pearls. I do not even want to know. So many questions. A lot of people think a lot. Me, I'd far rather stay dumb. All I can say is, the stars up in the sky all night, just the way they are a lovely sight. I suppose you could interpret that literally, kind of figuring out these sorts of things, but at the same time you could perhaps interpret it as, just a bit of an exploration into the mundane sorts of thoughts and passing ideas, just looking at something inconsequential or something that we take for granted, and just focusing on it, wondering, what is that all about? What is there to say? What is there to take away? Simple stuff like that. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I perhaps hyper-focus on an inconsequential little detail or something peculiar and just get to brainstorming, get to thinking. Sometimes it helps pass the time, but other times I admit I go on autopilot mode and don't really pay attention to my surroundings enough. That explains the spilt water from yesterday, you see. That's I take full responsibility. I take full responsibility in that. Here's a bit of a sad one. A poem called Loneliness Again. I don't want to go home. Scared to sleep in that home. Don't want to be out alone. A boat out in a storm. When Mr. Pooped scoops me up back to my miserable room, I'll open the shutters wide. I hate being cooped up, when the cold of night so cruel makes me shut the windows tight in my loneliness so chill. I'll drench myself in fuel. Then loneliness's hug will squeeze me tighter, will squeeze me ever tighter still. Like an ape in the coil of a snake, I'll suffocate. A rather morbid one, isn't it? Quite upsetting when you look deeper into it. I suppose there are many people out there who perhaps feel lonely like this. Maybe there's a slight bit of childish, whimsical sort of element here with Mr. Pooped. That could be, for example, a father who's been very busy in the day working and picks up a child to take back to their room. That kind of sense of suffocation that comes with the loneliness, drenching self in fuel. Who knows what that could mean? I mean, that could be literally taking extreme measures, but perhaps also maybe something like going to the shower or dousing oneself with some kind of substance in order to kind of chase away the coldness and have something be there to essentially just squeeze you tight. Who knows? Who knows? I think maybe I can just wrap it up there, I suppose. I mean, I'm glad that I was able to read a bit of poetry for you, of course, but only if only if you've been happy with that too. Wonderful, wonderful to hear. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Good thing it's just right over there. That shouldn't be a problem for me. Okay, well, I'll be back in just a moment, all right? You enjoy yourself here. Don't worry about the leftovers, the trash, etc. I'll sort that out. Just as long as no one walks by, starts thinking that you tackled all this picnic all by yourself. All right then. May I take your hand? Thank you. Remember, if you need anything at all, I'm here for you. I'm always here. And I'll keep making sure that I will always be here for you. You truly are special, you know that. I'll never stop reminding you. All right then. I'll be back in a moment.